Remember being young and staying up really late to watch a scary movie? Sometimes you could fool yourself into thinking that you were in that horror movie. A shadow becomes a monster, and a noise outside turns into evil itself. I remember being obsessed with the Hammer horror films. In particular, I was a fan of Christopher Lee's Dracula. There was something about the gothic atmosphere of these movies that stayed with me. Now, I'm a fairly skeptical guy and I don't really believe in anything supernatural, but I can't deny my fascination with it. Fright Night was released in 1985 to positive reviews and modest box office success. The movie was directed by Tom Holland, probably best known for directing the first film of the Child's Play franchise. Throughout the years, Fright Night has become a cult classic. I recently went to go see it at a local indie theater in my city. I've seen the movie somewhere around 20 times. One of the great things about it is that it's just as good as it was the first time. Fright Night is one of the great vampire movies, sticking to the classic rules and reminding us why they work so well. We follow the character of Charlie, a teenage boy obsessed with a late-night show called Fright Night, hosted by former horror icon Peter Vincent, brilliantly played by Roddy McDowall. The movie starts with Charlie trying to go all the way with his girlfriend Amy, but he can't complete his mission due to noticing his next-door neighbor carrying a coffin into his basement. This shows us that Charlie is more caught up in the unknown than what's right in front of him. He can't complete his journey to become a man because he's still stuck in the fantasies of youth. He starts spying on his neighbor, Jerry Dandridge, who he soon suspects of being a vampire after local women start getting murdered by an unknown suspect. Charlie has no way to prove that Jerry is behind this, but he takes it upon himself to expose this next-door monster. Jerry is played by the incredible Chris Sarandon, who gives one of his best performances outside of Dog Day Afternoon. His take on the Dracula archetype is sexy, self-aware, and when he wants to be, very scary. The movie turns into a battle between Charlie and Jerry, with Charlie's friends and family stuck in the middle of this conflict. Amy looks like a lost love of Jerry's past, and Charlie's best friend Ed won't give Charlie the benefit of the doubt. In one perfect sequence, Charlie tries to call the police on Jerry. The cops go over there, but because Charlie can't keep his mouth shut about the vampire thing, he gets laughed at and the cop tells him to leave the police alone. This sort of tight writing and logic is what helps keep Fright Night grounded, and good structure helps elevate it above the average 80s horror movie. This film is both looking back and to the future without compromising its own identity. Jerry is charismatic and warm. It's sort of hard to not like the guy. He's able to seduce Amy and take her away from Charlie. The thing about Jerry is that he gives into his desires and his vices. While I think Charlie is too distracted to give into the things he wants, but you could make an argument that this is how Charlie is able to get the upper hand on Jerry. This movie says that being the movie nerd isn't always a bad thing, and you can still be the hero and get the girl without trying to be cool. Peter Vincent comes into the story as Charlie seeks his help to fight Jerry. After all, Vincent has killed dozens of vampires in the movies. Vincent is of course skeptical at first, but one clever sequence with some holy water and a mirror does a good job of convincing him. Fright Night comes into focus once we reach the highly entertaining third act. What started as an homage or borderline parody of the classic Hammer horror magically turns into an updated version of one of these movies, with better special effects and sound design. Holland's genius is in putting all of these pieces together. He earns this climax by letting us know that he understands the ins and outs of the genre. He even goes so far as to have Jerry say, "Welcome to Fright Night. For real." The movies Charlie has spent years watching are now a dark reality, and his hero, Peter Vincent, is there beside him. Peter Vincent is a really good character because his life has fallen apart and he's lost purpose since his glory days in the movies. He's fired from his job and is getting kicked out of his apartment. In one scene, Vincent goes to use a cross on Jerry, but it doesn't work because he has no faith in it. Later on, the cross does work. And I take this as him not just having a newfound faith in God, but in himself. All of those years playing a character weren't a waste of time, and now he can use his knowledge to do some good. Jerry works because his charm is hiding a real cruelty underneath. In one scene, he locks Charlie in a room with a bitten Amy, giving him a stake to kill her when she wakes up. This is just a game for him, and he takes pleasure in watching others suffer. Evil Ed is both funny and annoying at the same time, but it's hard to not feel sorry for him as his pain becomes more clear throughout the movie. Amy helps add more tension between Jerry and Charlie, as it's the battle to win her soul that creates the biggest problems for Charlie. And what about Charlie? Well, he's about as likable as a lead as you can have in a movie like this. He's brave without being heroic, stubborn without being arrogant, and it's easy to relate to someone trying to do the right thing when there's nobody else who can. Now, Charlie does win the day, and the final scene of the movie brings us back to the beginning, with Charlie and Amy in bed together as Peter Vincent's show is back on TV. Charlie is able to turn it off and finally spend some quality time with Amy. He's defeated the monster and in the process, become a man, understanding that one needs to find a balance between the unknown and the world that we can understand, the world in front of us. However, the ending lets us know that even though we can overcome our fears of what hides in the darkness, there's always the chance that something is still there, and maybe a real Fright Night waits for us all.